You're listening to InterviewTime. Portland, Oregon-based filmmaker Chris Barber's award-winning comedy, Waiting for Margot, tells the story of Martin, a man who quite literally argues with himself while preparing for a date. Barber's film is a hilarious, deeply immersive, and above all, honest portrait of the ways anxiety divides us against ourselves. Barber made Waiting for Margot in lockdown during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. He personally handled every single aspect of the production, both from behind and in front of the camera, even performing all the film's roles and composing the film's rich musical score. In this episode, we discuss his journey meticulously piecing together the film over a year and a half. We explore the film's resonance with our increasingly anxious and isolated world, and how taking total creative control not only helped him navigate the lockdown, it reignited his love of filmmaking. Chris Barber, welcome to Interview Time.
Thank you very much. I am super excited to be here.
When did you first conceive of the idea of Waiting for Margot?
It was 2021 early. I just finished working on this movie that went on. It was the first really big project that I had worked on after the immediate lockdown. That movie was supposed to be like a 3-month job, and it went on for like almost 6, I think. I forget what it was exactly, but it was, it stretched. And it was all COVID that did it. It was just like working around that.
You were working on someone else's film.
Correct.
Because you work as a location manager.
Location scout manager. And this was, it was a well-budgeted, Netflix movie. By the time I got off of that movie, I was so tired and just completely kind of obliterated me in a lot of ways. And then all of a sudden I was home again. Back in this isolation, that's one thing about working on movies back then is, they were the safest places you could possibly be, because the stipulations were, fine, you want to make movies? Well, you're going to test everyone like every day or every, there's like the testing was crazy. The safety precautions were crazy. And then, like, had I known then what I know now, I would like, all my anxiety around it would have just vanished. But anyways, it was really weird going from lockdown to working on a movie and being out in the world and doing all these things and like bookending that experience with being locked down at home. The first thing I did was I didn't know how to get out of that work mode and also be like, wow, I'm really relieved that I'm home. Yeah. And can just kind of like, okay, I don't have to go out of the house today. What am I going to do? So I watched something like 4 or 5 movies a day for weeks. Oh, wow. Like, I was just like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to watch these. And I'm going to go down this weird, tangent here. I was like, I'm going to watch Korean action movies today. and then the next day I was like, oh, I'm going to watch all of, whatever. I was just like going on these weird routes. And it was these 3 particular movies that came together. One of them was Good Morning, the Ozu. Okay. I love that movie in general, but what struck me was that there's no camera movement in it. Oh, wow. And so it's all just these locked off shots. And it's like, wow, this is like really, like this is so great. Yeah. And it seems simple, but it's obviously not. Sure. But the fact that, like, after watching a bunch of Kurosawa, like in that same period, he moves the camera like crazy. And then you're watching Ozu and it's like, it's very still. And I was kind of struck by that. And then it was, on another note, it was the movie Girl on a Motorcycle by Jack Cardiff, which is... it's great. Yeah. It's also it's any movie from the 60s. It's problematic in a lot of ways. Sure. But it's just, it had this amazing energy just in the way that it was shot and edited. It's just like crazy energy. But the last one was this movie called An Oversimplification of Her Beauty by this guy named Terrence Nance, and it had this really interesting, like, introspective kind of dreamlike quality. And for some reason, it was watching those 3 movies, and my brain was like, I have to make something. I hadn't made anything in ages. Like, it had been a really long time since I'd picked up a camera and just wanted to actually do anything. And suddenly it was just like this huge urge to just like, I have to make something. Right. And then the ideas just started to kind of come together. It's not really based on anything that's happened to me necessarily, but it was more based on like that feeling of like, what do you do when you're just overwhelmed by the thoughts in your head and you can feel them, like, what they are, You're aware of those voices in your head. It's like, oh, it's these guys again. But you can't shut it out.
Yeah.
And you can't stop it. And you know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Which makes it worse.
Right.
It's a snowball at that point.
There's a sense that the more you argue with it, the more you engage with it, the more it's going to like...
Yeah. And so that is kind of just the idea of the story kind of came out of that. And the rest of it was like, well, okay, if Ozu can make a movie with no camera movement, then that takes a huge load off of my plate because I never have to worry about it.
Because why? Because he's proved that you can do that?
It's not that I was ever in doubt that was possible. That's not like, I know it's possible, obviously. Like, and that's not the only movie that's done that. It was just seeing something that I responded to. So like, it was almost like I'd forgotten how to feel when I'm watching a movie.
Right.
And so I'm watching all these movies and I couldn't even tell you what I was feeling when I was watching them. But then for some reason that one, it's like, oh, this makes me feel really happy.
Right.
And kind of grounded and kind of safe.
That one punched out at you.
That would definitely.
And it was the lack of camera movement.
That was, well, I mean, that's not the only thing.
Is that something you were actively thinking of at the time?
About halfway through the movie. Yeah. Because I'd seen it before. And about halfway through the movie, it was like, oh, the camera's not moving. And then I started paying attention. I was like, "Ooh, this is cool." And it just kind of occurred to me, it's like one of those things where it's like, well, that's in its own right. That's an aesthetic choice that is like, there's a lot of like raw power there. You could do some really interesting things. It forces you to like your framing and the blocking and the editing. It made me focus more on the precision. And the other part of that too is that it's like when you're editing camera movement, you can kind of let that, you can or you can't, but for me personally, it's like the tendency to kind of let the camera movement kind of have a say in how long you hold a shot or what goes next after it, and like the pacing, and then like taking that completely out of the equation, put it into a different way of thinking about it. And I thought that was, I don't know, that it just kind of struck me.
Was there a sense of like a challenge, like you're being challenged to do this, or it was like a puzzle that you wanted to put together?
Yes and no. It was a challenge in that, like, okay, how are you going to make this interesting? But also like, it completely made me realize that I could just do this alone.
Right.
And that is the key. It's like, I can do this alone.
Right.
I don't need anybody else for this.
Okay, so that kind of leads me to my next question, which was, you personally handled every aspect of this production.
Yes.
And quite literally down to the finest details. So you wrote it, you directed it, you produced it, you acted in it, but then also the special, like kind of like these highly specialized technical things, like you did the cinematography, which we've already kind of discussed, but also things like color correction, sound design. Yeah. You did every single aspect of this film. Why? Why did you want to do everything? You know, like what makes you want to
Because I love it all. That's the thing about it, is that I love it all. And that was the challenge more than anything. It was like, okay, well, I have never acted. I mean, I've been on camera, but I've never actually seriously tried to act in anything. But I have plenty of experience with post-production. I have plenty of experience with production. I've written since I was in the, 7th grade, 8th grade. Most of it was like this, oh, I can do all of this. This is fine. These are skills that I've been building up since I was, 13.
So you felt like you knew how to do all these things?
Except for the visual effects and the color correction. And my answer to both of those was, well, the color correction, I just found a course online and I learned it because it was the pandemic. I had nothing else to do. I was like, what am I going to do today? I'm going to learn how to adjust my blacks.
It is interesting. A lot of people were like learning how to make bread.
Sure.
There was a whole pottery like bread explosion that happened during the pandemic. But then the pandemic also afforded us the time.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's interesting that, you can teach yourself things. And that's what I wanted to actually just directly ask you. Is this a way of kind of putting yourself through film school again?
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. Well, it was really kind of fun to address these areas that I've never looked at before. Like, I had no idea what went into color correction, for example. I had no idea that there's ways to make sure that you're like all the black areas or the white areas in an image need to be addressed specifically, or the skin tone has its own set of rules, or this or that. I sound like a complete novice because it's not like I'm not a color corrector, but I did learn enough about it to be like, this is cool.
Yeah.
and it was, I mean, it was just really fun too. It was like this whole area that I've never really discovered. And I did the same thing a little bit in the visual effects, but it was very, very rudimentary. Since then, I've kind of gone more down that road. But at the time, I was like, oh God, how the hell am I going to do this? And then when I'm doing it, I was like, this is wrong. If a real compositor saw this, they'd take my computer from me. And this is one of the things that I love about location management and scouting too, is that it's like the halfway point to me between the logistical and the artistic. Okay. You can find the best place in the world and for that scene, but if you can't shoot there, if you can't get a camera there, then what's the point? So it's like you have to, it's this balance. And this movie was a lot of that. Okay. It was a lot of like really artistic on a level I've never personally had. And then also just kind of figuring out how to make it all work. And so kind of kept that balance there in my own brain, which was, I had a great time.
It was a great time. It was a great activity.
And also the creative side of it was unlike anything I've ever done in that it was just responding to feeling as I was making it.
Oh, wow.
Because I would edit as I would go.
Oh, wow.
Or at least like get it down in the timeline and see what it looked like.
Sure.
And so it's like, okay, that'll work. And then I could move on to something else.
Is that something you feel like because you did it, you were doing everything by yourself? Well, then you could kind of do everything the way you want to do it.
Exactly. And also the freedom to be like, this isn't working. There was a point about the halfway.
And not having to argue with anyone.
No, I didn't. I had to argue with myself plenty, sure. but no, I hit a point about halfway through where it was like what I had written in the script was I didn't like it anymore. I was like, this just doesn't feel right. And so I took a few days off and just watched more movies and kind of disconnected my brain. And 3 or 4 days later,
you could do that. You could set it aside for
I know
a
what
minute
to do.
And kind of walk away from it and let it cook.
Which I'm pretty sure if you do that on when you're working with a bunch of people,
no, you can't.
They start, calling you names behind your back.
Well, they're probably like, Chris, why don't you just light money on fire?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, so did you feel a need to kind of be creative again? Because you've been working in this location management position, which you've said right now is kind of this liminal space between creativity and then sort of the pure logistics. But was there an urge or a need at that time, do you think, to kind of say what I want to say? Or
it came out of nowhere. One day I was my normal old self. The next day I was like, I have to do something. And it wasn't this project. It was, I have to do something.
Right.
But this came out of it and it felt right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think that was new to me, guiding the project by my own responses to it.
Like an intuition.
Exactly.
Okay.
I've never had that before.
Yeah.
I never had that, especially not working with other people. And it's not like I like working with other people. I love it. That's part of the reason that I love this, this field. But in this particular case, it was like, it feels like it's pushing me this way, so I'm going to go that way. Okay. And it's pushing me this way, the other way, so I'm going to go that way, and I'm going to see where it goes.
Kind of letting
it
pull you.
Yeah.
Did you script everything out? A shooting script to get started with?
And then I ignored it.
And then you ignored it. Why is it important to have that shooting script, and then why is it important to you to kind of throw it out?
Well, I mean, I think the shooting script is it kind of has to be there to keep the train on the tracks.
Sure.
But, and then how you decorate the dining car is you can just, it's like we're moving, but I want the walls to be pink. It's like you can do whatever you want as far as like, again, just based on feel. And so I've never been like, I like the script. It's fine. It resembles the movie for sure. But at a certain point it was like, well, that's saying that line feels like I just stuffed a bunch of cotton balls in my cheeks, so I'm gonna try another one.
Yeah. And I can do that, right?
Exactly. And it was almost like the script was just there for the intent.
Have you ever heard of Carlos Rejadas? Like, he did that film Japón. He talks a lot about, like, I'll bastardize it right now and forget the term he uses, but essentially, like, you plan everything very carefully so that you're prepared for the unexpected.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is also, in my opinion, one of the biggest tools that you can learn from, or like as far as skill sets go in location management. Oh my God, you just plan. in order to be able to adjust.
Yeah.
And that's a great, I love that mentality. It's like, okay, like the foundation's here, especially two different parts. Like I had to do it by feel. Like I couldn't be literal, or I couldn't be like, oh, but I wrote this, so I have to say it. It's like, it wasn't going to work if I didn't get in there and just kind of like, okay, well, so I know what the characters are.
You said earlier, you'd never really acted in anything before.
Not since like little high school projects.
So with that, but you have experience directing other actors.
True.
I would imagine a considerable amount. And you're also on sets all the time watching directors. I know you've worked with some very famous directors. And you see how they work with actors. But how is it? Like, how is it? Because I think it's important for the audience to understand you're not only playing the roles, you're playing both roles, and they're two different characters.
Correct, yeah.
How was that? How did that feel to do that? How do you direct yourself?
Well, that's a really good question, because I don't know.
Right.
It was very, just kind of feeling it out. It was nice to have a little bit of a head start for the first 3 or 4 minutes of the movie. It's just the one character.
Right. Yeah.
There's Martin, and then there's Andy. There's the two characters. So Martin, I had a head start on because I was like, okay, well, I know how to do this guy. Yeah. Because he's basically, me when I'm in I'm in a hurry.
Right.
kind of a mode. Yeah. And I'm panicking about something and I don't need to be. And it just, so I knew that guy. And so that was kind of easy. But once the other character came in, then because I had that foundation already with the other character, it's like, okay, I know what parts of myself need to be on display here for this other guy.
Right.
And it's like one of them was just this frustrated, spiraling dude, and the other one was the one who sits back and watches. It's like, I'm gonna poke you. I'm gonna find any reason to get under your skin, and I'm gonna have fun.
There's a sense about Andy that he's always right.
Yeah, he knows better.
I wanted to ask you kind of directly, like, who is Andy? Who is this guy?
Andy is just all the feelings or the thoughts in the back of your mind that either is nudging you to do something else other than what, I mean, it's your insecurities. It's your doubts. In some cases, your tough love, hard truth.
He says, when Martin threatens to drug him out of existence, he says, you can't afford it. You can't afford to, you need me.
Yeah. He's everybody's worst enemy and best friend. And I think the reason so many people are not completely obliterated by their own anxiety, right, is because there's some butting heads, as opposed to just like I don't know. This is just me.
Sure, no.
This is me. This is as the movie is not based on anything that's happened to me. Okay, it's complete fiction as far as that goes. But I totally I'm a very anxious person and definitely know what that's like to have. It's like you can feel yourself spinning out, and sometimes having those conversations with yourself can be a course correction, and other times it can completely spiral. Right. And you never know what you're going to get.
And Martin is in, because there is usually a push and pull, right? But Martin is in this sort of very vulnerable moment of he's going to be on if it's not the first date, it's the first time she's coming over to his house.
Yes.
And one of the things I noticed in the film, Martin immediately only sees what's wrong. The very first moment he comes in, he takes a drink, he scans the room, and then he just sees everything that's wrong. And what is interesting is that's what kind of summons Andy.
So he sees everything that's wrong in the room, and then he fixes it.
That's right.
And he addresses the problem.
Yeah.
But it's not good enough. There's always something that's wrong. Yeah. Always. It doesn't. Everything's pretty right. I personally cleaned that apartment doing those those shots. Yeah. I would have been very happy personally, but it's never good enough. Right. So, and that's what I think that's what Andy is. It's never going to be good enough. And this is something that a friend of mine told me this once. This is after I'd made the movie that I think made a lot of sense. It's like, well, Anxiety is just your brain trying to protect you. It's just like, oh, there's a threat. Right. Or let's act accordingly, and then just to be able to like listen to that, and as she said, it's like just thank your brain. It's like, thank you, I see you trying to protect me, but you're not needed.
Yeah,
like that is not a skill that is easy to. No, like I mean you.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no. And maybe for some people that's easy to do, but. No, for me personally, it's a little bit harder than that. But
and Andy doesn't go away. I mean, Martin tells him, he says quite forcefully, like, "Will you please fuck off?" I love that. Like, "Will you please fuck off?" And he doesn't. I mean, one of the powerful things for me about the film actually is I think you can read the film in a certain way. Like, you could read it one way and you could think, okay, this is a comedy. I mean, it is a comedy. It's kind of a comedy about a guy that's having an argument with himself while he's preparing for a date. Like, yeah. But what I think the power of the film is it, because later in the film, it really pushes into some really honest and kind of, I would even say borderline tragic kind of territory. And what I think works about the film is that it's relatable. And in other words, at the beginning of the film, I think everyone can kind of relate to, like, oh my God, I'm nervous. She's coming over. I've got to clean up the house. Nothing looks right. Yeah. That's normal and it's hilarious. But then it kind of changes. And I just want to say, like, to me, this is the real strength of the film, is it changes in you earn that change. You captured something there that's like extremely honest and real about what that experience is like. The fact that Martin won't fuck off. The fact that he is essentially self-sabotaging. This is a legitimate, like, mental health issue.
Well, I think, yes, it is. And I think it's one of the things that I didn't even think I had any thought about this while I was making it, but it occurred to me after the fact. It's like, well, it is a legitimate mental health issue. I mean, it is so common. Yeah. And so many people suffer from this. Yeah. To various degrees.
Right.
And it's almost downplayed. Oh, don't worry, I'm just having a
panic attack.
Well, sure. Well, a panic attack, I can, that's...
No, but I think that we kind of offhandedly just throw things like that out there sometimes, and like, well, no, that's actually kind of a big deal.
It is a big deal, and that's the thing. It's like, for anybody who hasn't had a panic attack, they cannot understand what that's like until they have one. And then all of a sudden... it's very real. Yeah. And it's not funny. And it's not something, I mean, you cannot override your brain when it's telling you that you're in danger. Even when you know rationally that you're not. Yeah. And the like the mental health aspect of that movie when I was making it was anxiety can be really funny. Yeah. Until it's not.
Right.
And once it's not,
yes,
it's a very big deal.
Yeah.
And in some cases, years of work go into getting that into a place where you can manage it. Yeah. And then even then, sometimes you just, I mean, it's one of those, it's
something that can unravel at any time.
Yeah.
Which in and of itself is its own anxiety, right?
Exactly.
There's an anxiety about the anxiety.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like that snowball. It's like once that started, and I have had situations where I've been like, oh, that would suck if I got a panic attack right now. Yeah. And cut to 10 minutes later,
you're having a panic attack.
I'm like, well, shit, I wish I hadn't thought of that. But you see it as a crutch a lot, especially in media. You see it as, it's like, oh, this person, you get the high ringing and the sound design, and the sound gets all muffled, and the person starts like, they're shaking fist. Yeah. It's always, oh, I'm having a heart attack, and then somebody's like, it's okay, it's just a panic attack. So yeah, and you see that all the time in movies, and it's almost, but you never really go into why or what that's actually like.
Right. I think you did a great job capturing what it's like to kind of be a prisoner inside your own head, and to kind of that feeling when you are experiencing anxiety of like the kind of collapse into yourself.
Sure.
And I think you achieve that in a couple of ways, like the sound design of the film and the score in particular. And I just was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the sound design and what your sort of process was and what were you trying to go for?
The sound design and the music were definitely very hand in hand. I'll start with the sound design. As far as the sound design goes, a lot of it was just, once you do the obvious, cleanup work for the dialogue and the production tracks and things like that, it was very subtly playing with ambiances.
Okay.
To try to either bring up or down depending on what he was feeling. The kitchen scene is a good example.
Yeah.
The sounds of him cleaning the sink were cut very specifically to accentuate their conversation. So it was just like another layer of clatter going on in the dynamic. The only time you ever hear, not the only time, but the first time I wanted to make it actually clear that you hear outside sounds was after she doesn't show up.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, all of his focus is on, it's still on himself, but it's like just outside the house. So you can hear a car driving by and stuff like that. But up until that point, everything else was pulled into that space.
Yeah.
And it's another reason why I never re-recorded the dialogue tracks, is because they were boomy as hell. That room was not friendly for audio, but I actually liked that about it, how it was just another layer of like sound in this space.
There's an ambient
and all the creaking floors and everything like that, I just left in because I was like, no, this is great. This is like your brain is never quiet when you're like this until you're hyper focused on something. And this works hand in hand with the one shot in the movie that's not still. The only camera movement in the film is him imagining her approaching the doorbell.
Yes, I saw that. And it's the only shot outside of the house.
Outside of the house,
really,
exactly.
From outside,
yes,
looking at the house.
Yeah, and so like that was, and then the other, I added like there's the low like thrumming, the low bass, and especially in that panic attack sequence. Yeah, and did things like when he's itching. There's like he mentions the itching, and the first time it was actually like me recording my fingers on my skin, and then the second time as it progresses it kind of did a crossfade on the itching sounds from skin to me scratching the fabric on a couch, so you get this like really nasty like oh, you're gonna lose skin and if you're not careful.
It intensifies, right?
Yes,
like it kind of intensifies it beyond what is rational, because when you are having a panic attack, you will hyper focus. Part
of the design too, there's actually three voices as I see it in the movie. There's Martin, Andy, and then there's the narrator. And he's the one who's kind of all the voiceover is another voice. That's the voice of reason. That's the one that's just calm. Everything's fine. And that's the only voice where I was like right this far away from the mic. I didn't put any treatment on it. Outside of editing it. But then you want that to feel like the grounded, no, this is here to help. This voice is here to help, but he gets overruled and he gets discarded.
He's the mediator.
Point. Yeah. My favorite example of, as far as sound design goes, like when he's actually hearing all those voices at the end, if you actually listen to what he's saying,
fabulous.
He's saying bullshit, but that was the point. It's just like some of those thoughts. At one point, I think he says, "Do you ever wonder if horses had hands?" Yes. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah. And I was just like, it was a stream of conscious, just trying to but just the idea that sometimes your thoughts, even when they're that intense, can be so absurd.
You're my hands or feet. What the hell happened for them to just be like, you're a piece of shit. I've lost interest wondering if that point
and like the things that you worry about.
And I got a sense of not being able to control your thoughts. You're not
exactly, yeah.
We're kind of never able to control our thoughts, but it's like a floodgate is opening.
Yeah.
You just become overwhelmed by your thoughts. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. Well, I was going to lead to the music part of it.
Yes. Talk about the score, because when I say that you did everything in this film, and that includes composing, performing, and recording. The musical score,
which was my favorite part.
What was the kind of process? How do you write the music for this, and when do you begin writing it?
It was actually a very quick process. And okay, I'm going to do a quick tangent here.
Yeah, please.
Film music has been such a huge influence on me over the years. Since I used to be a percussionist, I used to play, for 15 years or so. I even went to school for, I have a degree in percussion performance. It's a huge part of my, but
you were playing
professional
jazz at the age of 12.
Well,
more or less.
No, true.
And Tom.
I'm trying to think. The first gig I ever had, I got paid in a big, giant tub of chocolate mousse.
Yeah.
So technically, you're right. But as far as music goes, I mean, it has been a huge part of my life, and I think massively under the influence of music on a story. I think, in my opinion, doesn't get talked about enough.
Right.
because the two share these traits of tempo and pitch and tone, and yet you can take all of that in music and you can put it on a movie. And then you have all the other levels. You have all the sound. You have all the imagery. I mean, that's what I love about film, is that you can synthesize these. But as far as the music goes, there's a few people that have really stood out and been really quite important to me. And one of them is Jerry Goldsmith, who at a very young age, and I could not tell you what, but for some reason his music has always struck me. And the more I've learned about him and listened to him and the philosophy of you're scoring the emotions, you're not scoring the action.
Right.
And this sort of approach of like looking at these characters and these scenes and these settings, and then you write the music as a response to it. Like the composer's like just feeling. Right. And this is, that has always struck me. And then I heard the score that he wrote for this 80s horror movie called Link, which is about a
did Jerry Goldsmith have to do an 80s horror movie? That's that time in his career.
I get the feeling that he would do anything that sounded fun, and if he could do it, because that's the thing. It's like he has so many movies that the movies themselves are terrible, but the score is like 110% every time. Yeah. And I listened to the track, the main title music for Link, before I ever saw the movie, and I was like, oh, he's lost his fucking mind. What is this shit? It was like, wow, this is weird and crazy, and then I kept reading as I was reading about it as I was listening, and he was like, oh yeah, well, I mean, the movie's about an ex-circus monkey that goes insane. And I just scored it from that perspective. I was like, yeah, we're going to write music for an ex-circus monkey that went insane. I was like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And then I went back and listened to the score. And I was like, oh, I see it now. And then I watched the movie. I watched it with Tom, my brother Tom. He came over and we watched it. We were just dying. Like, love that movie and love that score just because of that standpoint. Right. And so
it has a point of view, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He's choosing a point of view.
It's not just, ooh, scary sounds.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm going to make insane monkey music.
Right.
and so when I was working on the score for Margot, it was very much just the sounds of someone who is like, everything's got to be perfect, everything's got to be fun and upbeat, and you gotta say all the right jokes, and you gotta do all the right things, and under that is just this swirling mass of like insecurity and doubt and chaos. And so that's like the music, and I'm not saying I based it off a Link, but it's that sort of mentality that went into that, and it was just like, well, what does anxiety sound like? And so I had this idea of taking 3 different organs, like funk organs, I forget what it was exactly, but then tuning each sound in a different way, and so you have these 3 competing sounds, but they're all kind of working together into this score that kind of sounds a little bit like you're kind of losing it. And it's fun to listen to, but then the notes are really discordant. Like the melody is like, it's gonna hit your ear in a sideways. It's not gonna come at you like, straight on. And so
I felt like it kind of bubbles up.
Well, absolutely. It's like, and it gets more intense, and yet there's still echoes of like your traditional, like, okay, this sounds kind of like traditional score elements, but then it will just fracture into these like weird, kind of out there, like you never know quite what you're going to expect from it. And then at a certain point, it just, like, especially when he, pops the pill and starts finally calming down.
Yeah, it starts to slow down and soften.
Yeah, and the music just melts. I recorded a bunch of samples of mixing bowls and just tonal things, everyday items, and then would process them so they're just like the pitch is just slowly drifting down, but at different speeds, and so you never get one tone. It's like it starts on a note and then melts into 10 different notes. So it's the sound of everything just kind of melting into this muted, dull,
kind of disintegrating.
Yeah, and then the last,
which is kind of what happens to Martin. That is what happens to Martin.
Exactly. Until the next day when he wakes up and does it all over again.
Yeah. Right.
So, and then that very last track, which is kind of this jazzy kind of a little trio piece, or maybe it was just piano and bass, but it starts with a piano and then another piano on top of it that's just kind of almost mocking the melody.
Right. Just kind of like Andy
and
Martin.
Exactly.
And Andy.
Yeah, it's just the two of them, and then the two finally come together once he opens the door and reveals that there's no one there at the end, and then once he's asleep, there's like no music on the credits, just the sound of him breathing.
Yeah,
and it's just he's at finally peace, like he's finally resting, but then he's gonna wake up and do it all again tomorrow.
Oh, he's gonna have
a
bad day.
Exactly.
I find it really interesting that you made a film about anxiety during the pandemic, because it was such an anxious time. Like, you said something interesting at the beginning of this interview. You said, I was working on the film set before I started making, we were allowed to go back and work in films again. And there was all this testing, and there was, I remember it, like there was just a whole layer of extra work that you had to do every day. I worked at a grocery store at the time, but it was the same deal. Like you had to test everybody every day. People would be sent home every day. There was this whole layer of psychic pressure.
You were afraid of your world.
Yeah. Everything was scary. And I think it's really...
You boiled your mail.
Yeah.
you ran your fruit through the dishwasher. Like, we were afraid of our own world.
Yeah. It's just interesting to me. I don't know if it was conscious or unconsciously that you made this. I just wanted to know, I was going to ask you directly, like, why did you need to make a film about anxiety? And it sounds like maybe you weren't necessarily sort of consciously deciding, I'm going to make a film about anxiety, but there's this sense that it kind of came to you. Or
there was no real purpose or drive or anything like that about it. It was just so prevalent. It was just so, because everybody was feeling it. The whole world was feeling this, and it was like, but to be honest, a lot of the themes came out during and after. It wasn't even while I was making it, because a lot of this, as I said, it was kind of being pulled by the project itself as opposed to trying to think through it. Yeah. And that, I think the extent that it talks and deals with anxiety evolved very, very naturally as I was making it. Yeah. And it wasn't until a certain point where I was like, this is interesting. How often do you see just portrayals of men who are dealing with mental health issues where it's not immediately jumping to violence?
Right.
Because that's another thing that's always there in movies. You always have it's the man who just is having a panic attack, so he punches someone, or it's just
fight,
like, or he goes and kills exactly. And I don't know, the more I thought about it, it's like, well, this is something that, I mean, at the time I wasn't that aware of people talking about it, or making movies about it. To be perfectly honest, not a ton of people wanted to take this movie into festivals. They didn't, there's a lot of people who I just don't think wanted to talk about that.
You think it's a sense of like they didn't want to relive it?
Well, yes, that's a huge part
because
of
the
it.
film captures a couple of things. We've talked at length about anxiety, but there's also a real sense of isolation. Yeah. He's stuck by himself. Yeah. And again, like, I don't know if that was a conscious decision, but it feels in certain ways like the COVID-19 pandemic felt.
Well, also to have that story exist outside of that, because there's no mention of COVID during that movie. Yeah.
It's not direct.
It's not
specific. Literally about the pandemic at all.
But exactly, to your point, like just the parallels are very, very present. And also it's not made as an excuse for men doing shitty things, because to be honest, his behavior is still pretty shitty. Like he's not, he wasn't that great to the whoever Margot is. Like,
I wanted to talk to you about the scene. For me, it's the most devastating scene in the film where he texts her and cancels the date.
Yeah.
She's running late. I love how you just build up the tension. Martin's like, did I put on deodorant? And then the clock like ticks over as if, because when you're in that kind of anxious state, you really expect like she's going to arrive precisely at, 7 o'clock
exactly.
or whatever. Like, no, they're not.
Well, the fact that it's only 20 minutes later when it cuts, there's that jump cut.
But you have Andy.
Oh, yeah.
In there, I see the kind of male attitude, actually, that you're talking about.
And that's where he is the voice of protection.
Yeah.
He is trying to protect him. He's just doing it from a standpoint of like animal brain and not maybe I text her and say, hey, where are you?
Yeah.
It's oh God, if I get the drop on her, then I won't have to be rejected.
I reject her, she won't reject me.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's not meant as an excuse for shitty behavior because, there's a million ways he could have done that better. But when you're in that place,
you tend to catastrophize everything.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, everything is a 10 alarm fire.
But what I also related to was I think, again, and this is what I think works with the film, people can relate to that. We've all sent a text message. We're like, fuck, I shouldn't have sent that. And I love that the only way we communicate with Margot in the film is on text messaging. And what is it about text messaging that is particularly kind of triggering for someone with anxiety? Like,
that's very, very much a part of the point.
Yeah.
Is that, you're already isolated. You're already alone. You're already waiting and dealing with all these things. And then you get texts which don't have any tone unless you work to put it there. Like that's one of the reasons I used to kind of hate emojis until I realized it's like, wait a minute, these are amazing. They are because you have a shorthand there again.
It's
you're
a way
taking
of massaging.
If somebody says thanks without any punctuation, it reads like bad. Like everybody knows this. Like texting it's really hard to interpret because you do not have the usual social clues that you have when you're normally communicating with somebody. And so that was very much the point. Like
and then you begin to kind of write a story to yourself.
Exactly.
Right? Like think of the stories we write in between text messages. And never is that more painful than when you like a girl or you're
totally. Where everything means something.
Yeah.
Everything means something. It's like, oh shit, she didn't use a period there. It's wildly frustrating. And it just adds to that level when you're inventing a story that is not there.
Yeah.
But when you're convinced of it, it's like that sucks. It's hard. It's awful.
Yeah. And the way that Martin really kind of doesn't allow himself any eject button either.
Could have done so many things there, but also how Andy is just like, hey, you should cancel, just very casually. You know what you should do? You should just cancel. And then when he finally does, he's like, well, that sucks.
He doesn't take responsibility for
it.
Is that the last scene with Andy? It's kind of like his last
kind of moment, you see him once he takes the pill, he's
right.
outside.
Yeah.
He's been banished. And his sound is all muted. Like that when he's just like lurking. He's still there. He's not going to go away, but he's at least like, you kicked him out of the house finally.
Yeah.
But
I think it's interesting that since the pandemic, this is more and more how people interact with each other.
Oh, yeah.
I think your film captures that. It captures that we sort of are living in an increasingly anxious age.
An anxious age, a more isolated age, an age that is both way more aware of mental health and the importance of keeping it healthy, and then this pushback on it of being something that is seen as weakness.
There's many reasons why you decided to make this film on your own, but I think this idea of like being in lockdown, being isolated, and then making a film entirely by yourself, it could just be sold as sort of a gimmick, but to me there's something sort of integral to the themes of the film itself. You're spending time with this guy who's trapped inside of himself, and so there's almost a sense that you had to make this film all by yourself.
I don't think it would have been.
Yeah.
You could have made this film with a crew, and you could have had, had different actors playing the different parts and whatnot. But it probably would have been great. Yeah. But for me personally, it felt, it kind of has to be. It has to be me. Now, there's one exception to this. which is that I got a ton of feedback.
Well, I was going to ask you, who helped you make this film?
I mean,
you know, how did they do it?
I would usually mention it to somebody and just be like, hey, do you mind taking a look at this? And would just send out whatever version I was working on it. I was very, very encouraged by the responses almost immediately, because they were really, they were really genuine. There was really strong responses, and I was also kind of, you know, it's tempered a little bit, but I know that these people know me,
right? But you sent it to people that you know and trust.
Yes, that I know and trust, and was able to ask those questions, like, hey, how did this land? What do you think of this? Like this and that, like all the things that I was kind of worried about, was able to kind of, and so a lot of people were very, very, very valuable in that respect and generous with their time. Tom and my friend Corinne, like I sent them so much shit to look at.
Yeah.
and always the feedback was very thorough, and I called them test screenings, you know. It's like, all right, I'm just gonna see how this.
If you're just gonna literally do everything by yourself,
then
you really do need feedback.
Exactly. And I'm not afraid of feedback. I'm not afraid. Like I forget exactly who it was. Somebody, she's like, all caps. She's like, what the hell did you do to me? And then listed the things that she liked about it. And then one of the last ones was, I mean, it was all like, hey, I found this funny, essentially. And then the last one was like, and then I couldn't stop crying.
Yeah.
Like,
it does that to you.
And that was actually the encouragement I think I needed to actually finish the project. Breaking that isolation was really huge.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very grateful to the people who helped me.
How did making this film essentially help you navigate the lockdown?
Oh man, I mean, it was a year and a half of my life, and it gave me a lot of purpose. A lot of that was figuring out how to do it, and dude, it's a pain in the ass.
I was going to ask you too, like, what was the most challenging part of making this?
Every part of it was a challenge, like, and it forced me to slow the fuck down.
Yeah,
forced me to slow down. Like, I don't really want to change out of this costume, so how can I fake it? And it was like, stop that.
Right.
Go put the other costume on, damn it. And then it was things like I had to come up with a system to actually shoot it. So, okay, there's a tripod, there's a camera. Of all the things I could have done, chose this cheap $95 lens that for some reason, I love the look of. It is so shallow. That depth of field is so shallow that I had to reshoot certain things because I was 6 inches off my mark. So I was just designing it around, okay, so I need a monitor. So I got a little mic stand and I had a little 4K monitor with a focus assist on it that's hooked into the camera. So it's like, okay, I can see where I'm in focus. I can see it on my glasses. Like the glasses is outlined in red. Great. Okay, that step's done. I know where to stand. And then it was like lighting around that. And it was three C stands, like a little bit of grip gear, a couple of flags, like all stuff that I just had kind of lying around.
So this is all stuff you kind of own.
Yes.
Already.
I mean, I just use the camera that I go scouting with. I just use that because it can shoot 4K video. And so, it just like set this up in this weird. I mean, it was some of those shots. It's like so close to me, just cocooned by gear, and I had to figure out a way to like, okay, gotta reach the button. Boop. And then I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Like, did I get it?
Yeah.
So like every take, I had to go back and rewatch and be like, okay. And then
you had the time not to cheat, right?
Exactly.
You had the time to say, okay, I didn't get it, but it's okay. I can go back and.
It took about a month of shooting, and that was at a very slow pace. Yeah, when Kristen was at work, I would, start. There's a reason it's not all set at night, because it's like I had all this time during the day when I was alone. And oh man, that's a funny story. When I told her what I wanted to do, I was like, okay, I'm going to make a movie, but it's about a guy who's going to be going on. He's expecting a date, and he also just got through some relationship. You don't know exactly what's going on, but he has to look like he's living there by himself. And she's like, oh, great. So you want to clear all of my stuff out? And I was like, yep. Sorry. And so art directed just that
during
whole
the pandemic.
Yeah, just don't worry. It's just
for lockdown.
So for a month, I took anything out of that house that had any sort of like personality. and I mean, to be fair, I was pretty particular about how, like, the stuff that I left and put back and whatnot. I was pretty careful about that, just to kind of, like, you notice there's a lot of moving boxes on the
right.
And there's that shot with the sock under the, like, you know, just little things. The idea that and whose kids' pictures are those? Yeah, exactly. Or drawings, you know, stuff like that. So I was intentional about what stayed, but yeah, Kristen, she didn't love that, but it was a challenge to figure out how to do it, when to do it, what, you know, like at what point, why am I shooting this scene now?
I mean, I get the sense that, like, to kind of bring it back to the question, like, how did this help you navigate it gave you plenty of things to occupy your mind.
I was very distracted.
Yeah.
It's very distracted. And that just went on into editing. And then when I said, I don't know, I probably spent 2 months with that course learning about color correction. And yeah, it just gave me things to do for a year and a half. Yeah. And it's some of that, it's not like it was constantly working that whole time, but just to have that project and be like, oh yeah, I should do this.
Yeah,
today.
I'm
gonna or I'm gonna go record the sounds of the water dripping or something. You know, it's just like, it was always just
I think it's a really wonderful way and a fascinating way to choose to kind of spend that time. But it kind of also leads me, do you think you could have made this film under other circumstances?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, just because it's not about the pandemic and the aspects or the things that it deals with are so common.
Yeah.
So I think so, but I do not think that I would have had the drive in the same way.
What about the time?
Or the time? But I mean, the film industry is pretty slow right now. It's to your point though, back then time felt like, it's like, oh my God, I can.
Everybody's got too much time.
I have so much time.
Yeah.
So much time. I think there's a lot of people who would have been perfectly happy if the lockdown never lifted.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not one of them. I actually am very glad that the lockdown lifted, but it was
you never would have finished the film if that had
probably
been the case.
Not.
Yeah.
I know, that's the thing. And I would go off and work on other jobs, like, after he started making it and whatnot. But just, having those chunks of time was a huge, huge deal. And I've known this about myself for years. Like, the best defense against any sort of anxiety or that whole side of myself, the best defense is some sort of creative outlet.
What is it about film as a mode of storytelling or as an art form? What about it can it do that no other art form can do? What attracts you to filmmaking?
I think the marriage of all these elements into one in a way that nothing else can do is so cool to me. As I said earlier, it's like, sure, you have music, you have this same kind of, you have tempo, you have pacing, you have pitch, you have all these things that can tell a story. I listen to a lot of singer-songwriter, like folk music sometimes, and you have these amazing lyrics that go with these simple but devastatingly effective, beautiful songs, and you can tell a story, but then you can take all of that and put it onto this visual medium. Yeah. And where you can do things with the sound in ways that nobody's ever going to notice, but they're going to feel it. And to me, it's this impossibly cool way to evoke emotions in ways that nobody's really going to know. And that sounds, when I say it that way, it sounds weirdly manipulative, and I don't mean it like that. It's just being able to synthesize these elements into a feeling. Yeah. Is just so amazing to me. And it took me years to actually recognize that. Yeah. Because when I first got into movies, it was all about the editing and the shots. It was all very technical. I was that kid who would like watch Terminator 2 frame by frame to study the cutting, or Natural Born Killers or something like that. And I didn't give a shit about the story. It was like, whatever, let's just make a movie about two people kicking each other. Like, that's our story. It was great. Like that was like that was our film school. Yeah. We were just out there making movies all the time. Yeah. I loved that. And then one day when I started to pay attention to film music, it was like, you bring this into it and it creates these feelings. And then there was these things that would elude me, like, why does this point in the story feel so powerful? And once I started studying writing, it was like, this is structure. And it's setup and payoff and all these things that like this balance of like, you need this in order to have this down the road. And so film lately, my newest, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but my newest obsession is in design.
Yeah.
I never really truly appreciated the design of a movie. Until I started really getting into the locations side of things, but also just sure, you can have a great location and you're like, wow, let's shoot here. And then the set dresser comes in and they put all these things up and you're like, holy shit, this is on another level. Like these are things that I never before this point, never would have thought of. Yeah. And to me, it's just like this thing that just keeps on giving. There's always some aspect of it that's going to be interesting and powerful, and it's all just working towards the same goal of making the viewer feel something.
It's the art form that I think most closely matches our inner experience.
Yeah. And then the communal aspect of it too.
Right.
Like if you were to strip away all the sounds, this is getting a little John Cagey here, but like if you were to strip away all the sound of a movie and you're watching it with 100 people, suddenly the sound of the reactions becomes the movie, like it becomes the soundtrack. I mean, it's like that's amazing. That's an amazing thing. And even when there is sound there,
space, then the audience itself becomes part of the soundtrack. Have you had a chance to watch the film on the big screen?
I have not, or with an audience.
Okay.
Not once.
How do you feel watching the film now? Because it's been 5 years now or 4 years.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or have you watched it recently? Have you gone back and watched it?
I watched it again to kind of prepare for this, to be honest. I haven't watched it in ages.
How did you feel when you watched it?
I like it.
Yeah.
I think that there's things I definitely do differently.
Yeah.
But the broad strokes, I don't think I'd touch. Looking back with a little bit of distance, it's really hard to watch myself acting.
I think you did a really good job.
Well, thanks, Mike.
For never having done that before and then throwing yourself to play 2 different characters and 3 if you count the voice.
Sure, yeah.
As well.
Thank you. My biggest complaint is that some of the like color correcty effects that I added, like lens reflections and stuff, like I totally stripped that out now.
Yeah. Why?
Because what I thought looked kind of cool and authentic at the time looks a little distracting now. But at the same time, though, it's from my standpoint. I know what those. I know what those are.
To look for.
I'm not saying that anybody else would. It doesn't distract me from the movie, and it doesn't. It's just like nitpicky things, and that's one of the reasons why I'm pretty at peace with that movie.
Yeah. Would you do it again? Would you do it all by yourself again?
Oh, well, in fact, I'm working on another one.
All by yourself?
Yes, it's
animated.
animated.
Are you only going to make films now, from now on, all by yourself?
No, I don't think so. I don't want that. But I mean, that's the thing about making them yourself, is that it's you're your own boss, and you just do it when you feel like it, and you don't have to talk to anybody else while you're doing it. And not that I don't like talking to people. I love talking to people, but there is something about. I think of it this way: it's like there's very few chances I get to really, really exercise a lot of the skills that I've worked on and even just passively just kind of enjoyed into one place. I don't get that chance anywhere else. And I'm not going to wait around for it.
Right.
I'd rather just do it.
Yeah.
And it'll take me longer.
Yeah.
it'll be a lot of work, and I'll inevitably hit a point where I'm like, okay, I gotta put this down for 2 months.
Right.
But I don't see a lot of excuses for why not.
Right.
I mean, if you can get out there and make a bunch of movies with your friends like we used to, do it.
Yeah.
But if you want to make them and can, just find a way to do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, it's fun. You learn a lot.
If you were to really reflect back on that time, the challenge of doing everything by yourself, what do you think is kind of like the most important lesson you learned as a filmmaker from going through that?
Oh, that's a really good question. Because there's a couple of different things that I could probably pull from that. One of them is it's really quite attainable with patience. Maybe that's a big lesson, is that it's okay to be patient.
Yeah.
It's okay to slow down and to trust yourself to finish it.
If you have the time, take the time.
Exactly. But even if it's spread out over 10 years, because you're working work gets in the way, or you can't, even if it's chipping away at it every once in a while, that's enough. Yeah. And if you want to make it, then you'll finish it. It taught me that a lot of what I find really valuable as far as a way to spend time is working on things like these.
Right.
Gives me a purpose.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that, just to go back to your question about things that I've learned, is that I've recognized that it's okay to make things for yourself.
Yeah.
Because all of this is like, okay, I want to see this. As much feedback as I'm asking for from people, like, that's important, but that never really swayed me. I never made a huge change based on feedback, because I was making it for myself. It's like what I wanted to watch and what I felt
that you want to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Verhoeven said something very similar about his projects. He's like, I just like seeing what I like, the stuff I put on screen. And that stuck with me for a long time, because I was like, oh man, you could make movies for that. This is great. I just want to see what I want to see, or I want to make what I want to watch. But it also taught me to trust that if it's resonating for me, it's probably going to be resonating for other people as well, which is a feedback loop of feeling like you're on the right track.
What you're touching on there is that you're trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it taught you to trust yourself.
Yeah. To slow down, take the time when you have it, and to trust that what you're doing is worth it.
That's wonderful. What are you working on now? What do we get next?
It'll be a while.
I'm not rushing you.
No, there's I have a couple of things kicking around, one of which I don't want to talk too much about right now, but it would be a YouTube show kind of a thing. But the other one is another short film that I'm working on. I'm learning Unreal Engine and using this game platform as an animation tool. So I'm making a short film out of that, and it's so fun.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about locking off the camera anymore.
Now you're going in a completely opposite direction.
Like, ooh, now I can really start to think about how to cut shots.
This is going to be all movement. Yeah,
yeah. Exactly.
Every shot is moving. This will be the response, the emotional response. Well, listen, Chris, I'm excited to see that, and we will post the link to Waiting for Margot, your film. It's a wonderful movie. It deals with some heavy subject matter, but it's very entertaining. It's very easy to watch. It's very accessible and relatable. Chris, we'll post the link to the film and any other links. We'll probably post some of the references that you made today as well. And I just want to say thank you for coming in here and spending the time with us today.
Thank you, Mike.
Sharing this experience. It's really great to see you and have this conversation. So
likewise, man, this was great. Thank you.
The film is Waiting for Margot. Check it out. Thank you, everyone. You've been listening to Interview Time.